The primordial gods are gods who were born from the chaos of the beginning. They are the origin of the universe, the beginning of all creation, who once ruled the entire world. Nevertheless, the power of the primordial gods was so massive that they self destructed. It is said that they returned to the beginning of chaos from the Chronicles of Valhalla. And wow! Okay, so it's very interesting, especially with what Odin says. Holy cow! Yeah, this is Ragnarok chapter 88. Let's just dive right in, shall we? All right. Wow. All right. So yeah, we'll get more into the primordial gods later in the chapter, but let's continue on with Beelzebub and Buddha facing off against Odin. As Buddha's like, oh, so what's up with the primordial gods? And the two crows are always with Odin. Are like, what in the world are you talking about, Odin? Clearly, the primordial gods are fake. They've never existed. It's just a story that there's no way they could have ever existed. And Beelzebub's like, well, actually, during when I was looking for Satan back in Helheim, I actually stumbled upon a book that actually confirmed the existence of the primordial gods. But unfortunately, the most of the book was just rotted away, so I just barely read any of it. And they confirmed, yeah, that the primordial gods they existed at one point. And I actually forgot all about this information up until recently, to where my mind, you jogged my memory there, Odin. And as he's saying that, Odin just kind of just gives a like an evil look as everyone just starts watching him. As Beelzebub continues, well, I may be delusional to think that the contents about the resurrection of the primordial gods, but isn't that a forbidden book with your name written on it? The answer to your long cherished wish, right? Go ahead and tell me all about it, Mr. Odin. And Odin just kind of just starts laughing at this as he just says, tell us, tell us, tell us. You maggots are always like this. Where am I? There's some sort of nest full of birds. Then he just lets out this maniacal laugh, just laughing maniacally as he says, I am the Lord of Madness. I am the Lord of Rage. Bunch of idiots, as he just looks at Beelzebub and Buddha as he lifts up his spear and he says, despair. And right before he can even strike, lightning just strikes all around Odin as Odin's surprised by this. As we see Thor walking right behind his father saying, what are you doing here? And we get Thor. It's so cool to see Thor as he arrives and the crows just start shouting, Lord Thor! As Thor gets in between his father and Beelzebub and Buddha. They just watch as Odin just says, Thor, stay out of my way. And right there, we get Buddha just saying, what's up, little Thor? You didn't come here to help, did you? And Thor just says, I'm not trying to help anyone. However, allow me to say one thing. The pride of the warriors who fought in the arena will not allow it to be tarnished by anyone. And as he says that, it just surprises everyone as he continues. Until this Ragnarok is finished, life and death will be decided in the arena. That's that is the courtesy that we warriors must show our fallen enemies. And Buddha just kind of laughs and says, I've never heard that before. Oh my, it's kind of very interesting with what we're getting here with these characters, I gotta say. As Buddha continues, little Thor is surprisingly hot-blooded dude, huh? Alright then, I got it. And Thor points his hammer at his father and says, isn't that right, father? And the birds are kind of like freaking out at this. As Odin just says, until Ragnarok is finished. Alright then. And Odin starts and Thor start to leave. And Beelzebub's like, no, 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 no. This is not happening. We're talking about this right here, right now, Odin. I am not letting you go. And he immediately charges right at Odin. And to Thor's surprise, seems like Thor's ready to throw down. But no, Adamus shouts out, enough. And then we get Okita actually making an appearance right in front of Odin. As yeah, very surprising to see these two arrive at the same time. And Beelzebub just looks over as Adamas and says, "Don't you dare interfere with this situation." And Adamas actually gives Beelzebub the exact same advice that Beelzebub once gave him, where Adamas is like, "Are you really gonna disrespect Hades? Are you really gonna do that here and just interfere and just have this whole tournament, everything that everyone's died for, be for nothing? Are you really gonna do that?" As he says that, he puts his hand on Beelzebub's staff on the skull, and he starts breaking his hand as he says, "Don't be a clown, you idiot!" And Beelzebub just kind of lets it go. As Thor and Odin begin to make their way out. And right there we get good old Buddha saying, "Hey there, Kinchan. You really never stop moving, do you?" And as Okita just watches Odin just glare at him, and he just glares at Odin like, "Oh, frig, man, this guy." And he's like, why is he looking at me like that? And Buddha's like, "Oh, yeah, I told him what we were up to, and I told him that you were in Tartarus looking for Siegfried." And he's like, "Oh, come on." And then Buddha's like, "Yeah, I know, but what can you do? All right, so what do you bring me?" And Kotika's like, essentially like, "Yeah, I went over the prison. I tried finding other ways in, but there's no way to get in. So Siegfried is really locked up, and honestly, there'll be no way to get in without any bloodshed." And so Buddha's like, "Oh, okay, so that's interesting. Now I just want to meet that guy even more." As they kind of both just talk about it, and Buddha's like, "All right, let's eat some candy." And Okita's like, "Really? I mean, didn't you already eat some? Aren't you gonna get cavities?" Like, and Buddha's like, "I'll brush my teeth." And as they're talking, they're like, "All right, let's get going. Bye, Beelzebub." And Beelzebub pulls something very interesting. I think Beelzebub. Well, I'll get to it when we get to it. As Beelzebub's like, "Hey, Buddha, you don't hate me, do you?" And Buddha's like, "What, hate you?" And Beelzebub says, "You already know, don't you? The one who planted that Hajun seed in Zero Fuku was me." And Adama's like, "Hey, Beelzebub, Beelzebub." As Beelzebub continues, "You must hate me so much that you want to tear me apart and murder me." And right there, Buddha just watches. He says, "Is that so?" Ah, that's the story, huh? As he steps right in front of Beelzebub and he pulls out the sick that once belonged to Zero. As he gets it, he slams it down, and it seems like Beelzebub's already accept his fate. Like he's already accept his fate, and Buddha just bonks him on the head. And Buddha just says, "Well, is this enough? He entrusted this to me." And Buddha's like, "Wait, what?" Or sorry, Beelzebub's like, "What?" And Buddha's like, Zero was the one who taught me that. And that in this inevitable that hatred will rise in the heart. But if I allow my heart to get the better of me, I'll be the same as to betray Zero. We will walk the path of light together. That's what I said. And that's a promise I made to Zero. And that's the reason why I don't hate you." Which is very surprising, I'm not gonna lie. And the surprise of like I like if okay, when I say surprising, I figured Buddha would probably be angry at Beelzebub when he found out, but I don't think I never thought that he would fight Beelzebub. I thought he would be more angry, but he'd be able to control his anger. I didn't expect him to control his anger to this degree. Like this is great here because he did make a promise to Zero, like yeah, Zero, together, we're gonna be through this no matter what. And him holding on to that to that the handle that once belonged to Zero, he's like, yeah, Zero will always be with me, and I will never betray his memory. Very, very good stuff there. As he remembers Zero in his last moments, as Basil just says, "You truly are a very complicated guy in the end. But maybe someday, if you feel like it, you can come back and kill me. You probably would be able to do it." As Buddha just laughs and says, "You're a weird guy." As they kind of just head off, and Adominus is like, "Yeah, that was freaking crazy. What was up with you?" And Buddha's like, "Oh, well, adolescence." And Beelzebub's like, "Yeah, you're crazy." Okay, interesting. I loved it. I love that entire encounter, and actually very surprising that Thor came and interrupted it and stopped it. He's like, "No, no, this is not happening. We are not going to betray the warriors that fought here and died." we have to at least respect our enemies that much to see this to the end. Love that for Thor. And that just actually makes Thor very, very more compelling. I'm not gonna lie, I like that a lot. All right, then we continue back to the match with Soji versus Susanoo. And them two are literally just throwing down at each other, just slashing at each other. And both gods and humans are in awestruck. And we also see Aphrodite. Good to see her. We haven't seen her in a while. And we see audience members just watching as Susanoo and Soji just continue to clash and clash and clash. Both of them with a smile on their face as they continue to throw down. And Susanoo actually manages to get a cut on Soji's cheek. And everyone, again, the entire audience, man and god, are both complimenting each other's races, saying, wow, that god is doing really well. That human is doing very well against a god, so very cool to see that. As there's like, all right, so the sword god and the demon child are fighting to the death. Susanoo Shirara Yukarazu swallows Okita's sword strikes and wields godly speed. And Okita reacts to counter attacks even to that. But Susanoo dodges and counters attacks even further. So these two, it seems like one has the upper hand, the other one just manages to get on top, and it just keeps lapping back and forth, back and forth. So this fight is actually very, very, very even. I would say we probably haven't had a fight this even, probably actually all the way to the first fight with Thor versus Lubu, which actually that fight was actually pretty dang fair when you reread it. And as they're going down, we see it looks like Ares turned to a statue, but Hermes like, nah, he was so amazed his soul left his body. And Zeus is like, yeah, swords are cool, but I prefer muscle. And we get Anubis watching, just pouting, like, yes, this fight's so cool. I wish it was me that was there fighting, man. I wish, but you know what? It's alright. I'm going next. And I just love the smell of blood. The smell of death, because, Anubis got a death in Egypt. So freaking cool. Then we get Kojiro and her best Valkyrie, just essentially just talking with each other, with Musashi actually there with them. So she's just going back and forth with the strategies of Okita and Susanoo. That they're pretty dang even, but Kojiro does speak on something later, actually very shortly here. Susanoo and Okita kind of talk with each other, like saying, "Yeah, you're not bad," and Okita's like, "Thank you. You know what? It's been so much fun. I'm having the time of my life." And right there, we get the stance of the smiling demon child was formless, as he just kind of limps his body. And everyone in the stands are like, "Wait, what in the world's going on?" Even Musashi and Kojiro's like, "Well, it's actually something that it's not a form that anyone can really learn. It's something that is very unique to him." As we see him just there, and Susanoo's like, "Would you like it that I am loving this? This is about to get wild as hell." As Okita says, "Me too. Here I go." And right there, Susanoo just smiles as he thinks to himself, "The air around me has changed. The piercing sword pressure." And Soji just immediately starts walking. He starts leaving images of himself behind him as he charges Susanoo so fast, with bloodlust in Okita's eyes, as he just slashes Susanoo like what? Like he barely manages to counter it, but Soji just immediately goes in and starts hammering right at Susanoo. As Kojiro says, there is one thing that Okita has that surpasses that god. That's the countless near-death experiences. And right there, Okita hits the palm of his sword on Susanoo's hand, and Susanoo's like, "What? That's Okita's Soji's sword." And right there, Okita just swings the sword and deals a slash right on Susanoo. End of chapter, man. I was in the zone reading this, man. I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way. Is it just not finished translated? But no, that's it. Dang, man. Oh, okay. Very, very good. I like that a lot. Again, the fight with Soji and freaking Susanoo is freaking great. And the whole conflict with Odin and Buddha And Beelzebub with Thor coming in was freaking fantastic as well. I loved all that. The only one thing I really didn't like this entire chapter is just Okita and Adama just so happened to arrive at the same time. That's really it. Like Thor arriving, to stop the fight. I mean, it wasn't like he was, like not far away. I think he seems like he knows his father pretty dang well, especially when you see him in other previous chapters where his fathers would say something or just stay quiet. Thor would just kind of just glare at him. So I believe that was set up pretty well. And yeah, again, overall, really, really great chapter. I'll do I don't want to give it. I don't want. This is tough. Maybe an 8. I might regret that later. I might move it up to 9, but for now, an 8. I think it's a very, very fantastic chapter. Holy cow! And a lot of red flags on Okita losing. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, everything from Odin to Beelzebub to Buddha to Thor, we got character development for them, and it's great. And Okita and Susanoo, the fight is just getting hyped more and more hype. It's great to see all that stuff, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna go over this chapter and just talk more about the primordial gods and what that means. Because again, well, we know the primordial gods. I believe the only primordial gods vaguely aware of belong to the Greek pantheon. I'm not sure there's primordial gods for other pantheons. I could be wrong. They're probably equivalents. Like I would assume Ymir would probably go under that definition of a primordial god, but again, I'm not sure if he would technically count in the Norse pantheon. I mean, he could be for all I know. But again, I know Ragnarok's not going with the whole. It's not very faithful to the original source, but it's all right because it does take a lean way and it does do very, very well with it. And yeah, I mean, look forward to that video soon. But yeah, that concludes my Record of Ragnarok review. And if you listen this far, I appreciate it. And yeah, man, it's freaking fantastic. Let me know what you guys think about Buddha's actions to Beelzebub, Beelzebub's actions to Buddha, or even Thor just coming up and saying, "Yeah, everyone, cut it out. You guys, yeah, don't. You're not fighting here." Like that. Like, wow. Like, I gotta give it to Thor, man. Holy cow. Yeah. As Buddha said, man, I didn't expect you to be hot headed. But yeah, as I said, that concludes my video, and I hope you guys have a great day and take care.